But it will be to the delight of so many of you that the man sitting on my right is here and looking hale, hearty and better than ever. Josh Moore, welcome to the show, and great to see you looking so well. That was a horrible injury last autumn. How are you doing?
Yeah, no, all good. Been back in the gym for a few weeks now and doing all the rehab, some of it up in Newmarket in Peter O'Sullivan House and in the gym local to me, and we're getting to the stage of getting back racing, hopefully.
I mean, it's fair to say that you have not had the best of fortune down the years with injury, nor your brother Jamie, in all honesty. But this was quite a nasty one, wasn't it? A really nasty one.
Yeah, it was probably so far all my injuries have been shoulders or a leg or like collarbones, things like that. Things that you can carry on functioning kind of generally with in a fairly normal basis, but this one was a bit different. That's the column of your body, and all of a sudden you're flat on your back and you're not allowed to move in hospital, and it does all of a sudden you have to take it probably a bit more seriously than most things you fracture and injure, I guess.
You were knocked out when Botox Has fell at Plumpton. Is there anything you remember about when you came round and sort of then going to hospital? No. First I remember is being in the hospital on the spinal board on the way out of Plumpton. The ambulance man, very good ambulance man, was talking me through what had kind of happened and then explaining we were on the way to Sussex County and Brighton. Mm-hmm. Since then, Riz, the racecourse doctor, who's absolutely brilliant, he explained to me that I was knocked out, and when I come round, I was telling him where the injury was, or so I thought, and he, as good as Riz is, was straight on the ball and straight sending me for a CT scan and MRI scan in Brighton, and sure enough, he got me seen too quickly in Brighton, and things were slowly to progress, but that's just the way the hospitals are at the moment, and we got an operation in the end anyway, but it was just a slow road getting there. Yeah, I'll come to that in just a second, but I want to pick up on the racecourse doctor you mentioned, Riz. I don't know, but you obviously, unfortunately for you, know him quite well now, but how crucial do you think his experience as an A&E doctor was for you that day?
Yeah, absolutely vital, someone like him. He works in A&E or as a consultant on a day-to-day basis, and he, when jockeys ride in races, I suppose they suffer serious injuries in the open field, if you like.
Yeah.
They haven't got the luxury of having everything they need around them, i.e. other doctors, medical equipment that they may need. They obviously have a degree of stuff, but it's not like being on hand straight away in hospital. And someone like him, I guess, is always, they're so experienced that they handle situations so quickly, and they set you on the right path so soon. And I think we're very lucky, the racecourse doctors that we have on course. I think particularly, I ride a lot in the southeast, and people like Riz and Lucy Free, they're always very sharp in getting us what care and attention we need very quickly.
Must be hugely reassuring. So, as you say, there was a period of time because of the delays in hospital at the moment where you weren't able to be de-operated on. I remember speaking to your mum during that period, and your mum, who is pretty unflappable as things go, it was clearly upsetting her quite a bit. How were you coping with it?
Yeah, I think it's probably upsetting people around me more than it was me. I was aware that I think I was nil by mouth 6 days in a row because it kept getting cancelled, and but the reason it's getting cancelled is because there was people in worse situations than me, and the NHS is a busy place at the minute. Unfortunately, the nature of the injury, I couldn't be moved to a private hospital for surgery. It had to be done. It was a big operation that needed to be done with the facilities that they had in the Sussex County, and the surgeon was doing his best to make it available, but theatre wasn't available due to other incidents and accidents that were happening, and you'll be on the ward, and I mean, a lad come in the bed next to me that had been in a car accident. People like that, they kind of need, it's life-dependent surgery straight away almost, and you have to be aware that there is bigger circumstances than yourself. It wasn't a great situation I was in, but it was handled as best as it could in the circumstances, I think.
That's the thing, is that being on a hospital ward is never a pleasant experience, but it will always offer you that slight sense of perspective. There's normally somebody who's in a worse situation than you are. Even.
Oh yeah, it completely changes your perspective when you're in hospital. Like the people in the beds around me. It sounds stupid, but I've been in hospital a lot over the years, so you become used to your surroundings a little bit. You know where you're at and you know what your body can handle. So I was quite comfortable that I was being looked after. Mm-hmm. The nurses that were on hand in the trauma ward, they're absolutely fantastic and they're used to it. So they look after you very well, and like I take my hat off to them. I think they're probably almost the most important thing in the hospital is the ability of the nurses that we have. They're absolutely fantastic.
There's quite a bit of you now because the operation was done, and as I say, you're looking great. There was quite a bit of your back now that is made of titanium, and it's quite stark when you see the images. So all of that top area there, all the bits you can see either side of your spinal column, that's all titanium rods, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 2 rods with I think 8 screws, just to helps the 2 fractures heal and supported the spine from above and below the fractures. So it's not. I'm not the first jockey to have it happen. There's been unfortunately the last year or so. Jamie had the same injury. Sean Houlihan, Micheal Nolan. They've all kind of had basically the same operations. So you get back from it and hopefully carry on about your business.
So how are you feeling now?
Yeah, good. As I say, I've been doing plenty of rehab work the last few weeks up to Christmas, over Christmas, and I've been able to step it up the last couple of weeks again, and to the point where I've just started back riding out, and hopefully might be back fairly soon.
Am I right in thinking that of all of your family, you're the one that has the deepest interest in possibly training horses in time and sort of the whole running and management of the yard? Has that sort of side of it kind of helped you through as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've probably one of the biggest things I do each day is help Dad with the running yard, as does Jamie as well. But I've been doing that for a long time now. Probably the last 10 years I've been helping Dad each morning organise things, and that when I was off was kind of one of the things. Was the first couple of weeks when I was in hospital, one of the things I was most annoyed about was not being at the yard, because I do enjoy that a lot. Yeah, so it's that was as big as most a frustrating part of it as anything.
I want to dial all the way back really, because you're in an amazing family of very high achievers, and you come along and you start in racing when brother Ryan is probably already borderline champion jockey when you're sort of how old at the time?
I think I just started secondary school when Ryan won his first championship. Yeah, I think that was about 2003 or 4 or something. Yeah, and Ryan was champion jockey quite young. He's maybe 21 or something when he was champion jockey. So,
and Jamie had already been nearly champion conditional.
Jamie had been I think he'd probably been champion amateur and champion conditional, and he was doing very well. So it's probably their fault as to why I'm riding, because I started watching them with a keener interest and loved what they were doing, and it made me want to do it as well, I think.
Because the assumption is that with everything your grandfather Charlie achieved and everything your father achieved as well, that you were on a pony from when you were 6 months old. But was that not necessarily the case?
I probably was a slower interest in it. I guess I started riding probably when I was about 10 or 11, but I could take it or leave it to begin with. I was always fascinated by the racing, but in the starting I was probably more interested in. I was quite into running when I was younger. I had a lot of athletics and that, and so the riding I could take it or leave it. But then I started going a lot of show jumping and eventing with my sister Hayley, and Hayley probably was the one that educated me the most, I guess, when we were younger. And as I was doing more of that, I really loved my show jumping and eventing, and I got into that quite deeply. And so then followed the racing. Once I was getting more involved with the racehorses, that took over. The show jumping and eventing did.
So were you inspired by Ryan and Jamie, or did you look at that and think, I can see all the all the pitfalls as well as the attractions of it?
All I could see was the attractions of it when I was younger, for sure. What Ryan was doing was massive. He was, when I was at school still, he kind of hit the global stage, and that fascinated me. I thought it was brilliant, and it's always given me a great interest in watching his flat careers. So I was never ever going to be able to ride on the flat. I was always too heavy. Although looking at the flat jockeys now, maybe I'm just lazy. They're all getting taller. But
I don't think anyone's ever going to accuse you of that. Somehow.
No, and then with Jamie doing well with jumping, and also Dad's actually probably trained more flat winners than he has jump winners. He's trained over, I think, nearly 1,200 winners on the flat, and he's trained 1,000 winners jumping. But
the pendulum's starting to swing, isn't it?
Yeah, he was getting a better type of horse jumping, better winners jumping, and that probably really attracted me into it.
Your brother Ryan is an intriguing character, an intriguing man, as well as an outstanding jockey, and somebody probably that very few of us ever really have really got to grips with in terms of what drives him, what motivates him, what makes him tick. How do you see him?
I see him as someone who's very professional and into what he does. He's all areas of racing interest him. He's not just set on what horses he rides and worried about them. He takes a keen interest in the whole industry, so I believe anyway. And I think he's always taken his job very seriously, very professionally, and he achieved a hell of a lot very young, and I always thought he's just always wanted to do best by the people that have employed him and supported him, and been truly committed and professional to the job throughout.
Has he always had that sort of single-mindedness? There's a great focus to him, sort of real sharp focus to what he does, it seems.
Yeah, Ryan's very particular, and he wouldn't do things half-heartedly. He'd give everything kind of 100% detail. You know, he wouldn't wing things. That's for sure. And he's probably he is I wouldn't say a shy person, but he doesn't like attention. He never has done growing up. He was someone that never liked attention, so I think he likes to put his attention on his job.
Mm. Well, would that be the same in a family situation? Obviously, if you're a fairly big family, if you all end up getting together, or you're in the same situation, or in a social situation, does that apply equally in a sort of private setting as well? That he would be, less sort of forward and more kind of reserved.
He can be quite outspoken in a quiet situation, in a family situation.
But it's that not craving the limelight, isn't it?
Yeah, he does exactly what he doesn't do. And, I think that can be a good way to be as a jockey. Sometimes I find when jockeys do crave the limelight, comes added pressures to the job.
Yeah.
And I think jockeys, they do get put under a lot of pressures in the modern era, and it can be important to remove some unnecessary ones.
Your other brother, Jamie, when he won the Queen Mother Champion Chase on Sire de Grugy, I had never, until that point, seen a reception for a jockey from other jockeys like it. That must have touched you quite significantly.
Yeah, it was good to see. I remember I was at Huntingdon, and actually in the weighing room at Huntingdon, everyone was shouting one like I've never really. Sometimes you'll be in the weighing room and everyone watching the race they might see someone that's like, that'd be a good result, and all of a sudden they shout them on, and obviously when Jamie won the champion chase, it was a great result, and it was good to see how well supported he was for it.
And this is it, Sire de Grugy. This was 2014.
Yeah.
How quickly 8 years have gone by, and it's an amazing outpouring of warmth from all the other riders when he comes in. It was really lovely to see, and great days with Sire de Grugy. Some lovely pictures of of the two of them the Jockey Club released a couple of weeks ago. A great bond between man and horse.
Yeah, that was it was probably there wouldn't be many relationships between a horse and a rider like Jamie and that horse did, in the sense that not many jockeys would be such a high-level horse, be riding it out every single day and being an integral part in what exercise that horse is doing, what schooling it might be doing. Jamie really worked closely with Dad on that one, and I think they reaped the rewards from it, really.
I was saying just before we started, it's cruel that you should have been off at this moment where this stable has never been in better form. I don't suppose the irony's been lost on you, has it? The horse is a better handicap without me on them, I guess. Yeah, well, we absolutely know that is not true.
I haven't been holding them back. No, it's been good, actually. In the summertime, I was confident we had a good team of horses to start this season with, and unfortunately the start of the season when I was riding was a bit slow because the ground was so quick, and you couldn't be running them then, because a lot of these horses, you want them to be lasting. You run them once on good ground around somewhere like Plumpton or Fonwell, and that might be that run might catch up with you 2 runs later. Jump racing is quite hard on horses when you're racing on ground too quick, and it was a slow start, but since we hit November, December, January, they've been absolutely flying, and it's been good to see.
So you're just about ready to get back again. Just going back to 2008 when you had your first ride. As soon as you had your first ride, did you think, right, I'm off now, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I was probably driving Dad mad to try and find horses to run in amateur races at the time. Couldn't understand it when he couldn't find one for a handicap chase around Folkestone or something for an amateur race, because I was just desperate to get at it. Or you see other lads at the time starting and getting going. Someone like Reece Flint was probably the one that was flying along when I started, and you want to be catching up like them, But also at the same time, I look back now and realise a couple of years riding as an amateur slowly is actually probably a better thing for you. And I had started off a good couple of years riding on the flat as an amateur. I used to have a good series called the Bollinger Series, and that was a good way of, you got to ride around some good tracks on horses running like 0 to 80 grade, and so a fair level horse for decent trainers. And really, I wasn't ready to be riding when I was 16, but you spend a couple of years learning, and it's a good way of going about it. That was. Yeah, and
then the jumping started to come, more rides, winners, and things started to go well.
Yeah, I think when I was 18, I'd started doing quite well as an amateur, and I had 3 rides at the festival one year, which ended up with a broken collarbone in the Fox Hunters. But even then, you just want to get back at it. I broke my first collarbone, whatever, but I wasn't bothered by it because I just wanted to. You had a bit of a taste of riding at the festival or whatnot, and I'd had a few winners that winter, and you just want to get back going more and more.
I mean, to someone who doesn't really understand what it's like to be a jockey, this level of resilience seems extraordinary, that you can keep getting broken and keep wanting to get back and do it. At what point does your brain just say, hang on a minute? Or it doesn't?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Luckily, I don't think I've hit that point just yet. I've had a lot of injuries, probably missed a stupid amount of time, so between 3 and 4 years of riding through the injuries I've had. But look, the body's functioning, and the surgeon was happy, and I've always, Dad's got some nice horses. If he didn't have the type of horses that he's got, the likes of something like Editor de Guy to come back to, then I probably you might think of it differently then. But all the time, there's some nice horses to have a goal, and there's a little bit more I'd like to achieve. I haven't achieved much as a jockey really, so I would like to have try and achieve something more anyway.
Editor de Guy, you won the Red Rum at Aintree. This was a great day. He's a wonderful horse to watch when he's in full cry. He's improved again this season. Do you think he could make it nearly all the way?
We always thought a lot of him. He took a while to get going. He missed his first season when we had him through injury, and he hadn't had much racing for his age last year. As the season went on, we changed a few things with him. He ended up being a very well handicapped horse, was what he was, and we kind of knew that there was a good horse in there, and I was quite confident this year that he would progress to the stage of becoming a graded horse. Well, he won a grade 3 as a last season, but I mean, I thought he would progress into pattern races, racing off level weights, and I think he's nearly there.
Is the Dublin Racing Festival on the cards for him? I saw he had the entry.
He is entered, very much depending on what other horses are doing. We just thought Leopardstown, notoriously the last 2 festivals, have had good ground there, and he is I think he performs best on the good ground. It's left-handed, which is to his liking as well, and we just thought we'd be stupid not to have an entry.
Quite right.
It ties in quite well with. He's had his break after he last won at Cheltenham. He's just starting back in his full work now, and if he doesn't go there, then he'll go to the Game Spirit at Newbury. They're the 2 plans set in mind. Now it looks like Shishkin's going to Ascot, then it probably draws us back to the Game Spirit, because that's probably a more realistic sort of level if you're going to taste pattern races anyway. But
now, is Jamie just keeping the saddle warm for you?
Don't know. No,
so how does it, when you're both in full cry, how does it work? How do you divvy up the rides, or does your dad just get on with it?
We sort of, it just seems to just work itself out, in all fairness. If one comes in, whoever sort of schools it first or gallops one first, or we usually have an even amount of juvenile hurdlers or novice hurdlers to ride. Obviously this year I haven't ridden any yet, so I don't know, Jamie might have to give me one back in a minute. I think last year I gave him Nassalam to come back on in a juvenile around Fontwell, so hopefully he's going to find me one similar. But no, it's always worked out. Since I've lost my claim and progressed to being a bit more experienced, it's worked quite evenly. I remember at Tingle Creek meeting a few years back, we had 6 winners over the 2 days, and Jamie had 3, I had 3, and we both had a Grade 1 winner each. So
because you rode Armad, didn't you?
Yeah,
in the Henry VIII.
That's right. Yeah. So that was an example of how evenly it does work. But me and Jamie have both been smashed up a lot over the years, so we've filled for each other at moments and both missed good moments. But yeah, it works itself out.
But like a lot of things, you make it sound regular, but to the outsider it could be unusual. It's hard enough being a professional sports person. It's sometimes hard to work with one, let alone several members of your own family, do it harmoniously and extremely successfully, and then be rivals on the field of play, yet still be able to, make it work for one another. Do you ever reflect on how unusual that is?
Yeah, it is. It is quite a strange thing, but
kind of brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's probably helped me and helped Jamie over the years that we've both been riding the same horses, and we can relate to each other closely without feeling like we're. Sometimes I think jockeys feel threatened by their number 2, maybe, and they might not be as open with them as they perhaps should be. But me and Jamie, then we can relate back to my dad openly and express our views, and I think we've it's been a bit of a benefit that it can be that way.
How is he as a manager of people, do you think, your dad? He says it as it is. He very much says it as it is, but he moves on from one problem to the next. If something happens, it's fine. You go on to the next thing. He doesn't really cry over spilt milk ever, for example. So we very much get on with things, and been educated to do that, and I think it helps you get along with the job. I find him very easy to ride for, because he gives me or Jamie a free rein, and I think that's a great advantage for a jockey. When you get down at the start, look how a race is panning out, you think, well, I'm going to do this now. I think can be a big advantage for myself and Jamie riding for him, is that we're not tied down when we ride for him, and we can make our own decisions when we get to the start, whereas some jockeys don't always have that luxury. They're too afraid of upsetting the trainer or owner that they're riding for. And he's characterised as being hard and tough because he's had a great career. But I always feel that the emotions are never too far from the surface.
No, yeah, you're probably dead right there. Yeah. He is hard and tough, and he was brought up that way. He gets on with his job. He can be a good way of going about things because you keeping your head down keeps you focused.
And then you don't get too down when you get a hit, and don't get too up when things are going well.
Exactly, yeah. It's a good, keeps you level, and he's had some good jockeys work for him over the years, especially like flat jockeys. You see Harry Bentley doing well in Hong Kong. Hector Crouch had fantastic flat season. Jason Watson started with us. He's flying along Neil Weather at the minute, and lads like Reece Clutterbuck doing well on Neil Weather. Niall Houlihan, who looks to be progressing well now. Then you probably all of them have kind of realised that it's. The job's not a given, and no one, it's not a given right to be a jockey. You have to get on with it, and probably not a bad way of being educated.
Absolutely. Josh, I wish you all the best. Have you got a date marked out for a comeback yet?
All being well, I hope to be back at the end of this month.
Okay.
If Jerry Hill's happy with me and everything, then hopefully we can make a decision this week about when I can get back.
So it could be Cheltenham Trials Day.
Bit of luck, yeah.
Jamie might give you one of those juveniles on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think everybody in racing, wants you back and wants you to do well. And who knows, Editor du Gite, 33-1 in the Queen Mother Champion Chase.
Why not? Hopefully he gets himself there, and he might have a little outside chance. Yeah.
All the best.
Thanks very much,
Josh Moore.